صل على محمد وآل محمد.
We'll start with the recitation of the Holy Quran delivered by Brother Muhammad Ali. He'll be reciting from Surah Rahman, Surah number 55, verses 31 onwards. 55 to 31 onwards. Can we please welcome him with the salawat?
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شعاظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العلي العظيم
اللهم صل على محمد وآله وسلم.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Before we continue, can we please ask all the gents to move as far forward as possible? Please can we make use of the steps as well as the chairs on this side? Please with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you all for attending tonight's Majlis at Al-Mahdi Institute. We have had 4 extremely thought-provoking, captivating and inspirational talks by Shaykh Arif. Unfortunately, tonight we'll conclude the 5-part series entitled Islam Between Moderation and Extremism, where we'd like to thank Shaykh Arif and Al-Mahdi Institute for giving us this opportunity to hear and gain from the talks, as well as the opportunity to remember and commemorate the tragedy of Arbaeen. As usual, after the lecture, there will be a question and answer, and after that there will be funyas. So all are please welcome to take part in funyas. Can we please welcome Shaykh Arif for the final time to conclude his series of lectures with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا بهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. وآل الطيبين الطاهرين والمعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المهتدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمساعدنا بنبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Without recapping too much, just in a few sentences, the appeal of Islam was in its value of human goodness, was in Islam connecting human being with the higher spiritual order, with Islam directing the human being to a purposeful, meaningful existence on the face of this earth, where the earth becomes a prelude to a greater existence. Community was seen as one family, community cohesion in a substantive manner, harmonious coexistence, loving the other, preferring the other, were seen as opportunities to gain godliness. And all of this introduced in a very balanced state, where the needs of the body and the spirit were balanced out, where the needs of the community and the rights of the community and individual were in a balanced state, where the discourse of human right was initiated, where a human being was seen as a dignified entity, a lofty being. This was the appeal of Islam, as was the appeal of Christianity, before it Judaism, before it all the religious communications that came via the great saints, chosen ones, prophets of God. Islam today, as is being seen as problematic, when it came in the time of the Prophet, was not seen as problematic at all. It was the agency of life. We can see the conduct of the Prophet. He was considered a very merciful person. Imagine a man who creates a League of Nations out of barbarians who are enjoined with universal brotherhood at the loss of 350 odd people. That man valued life. Imagine a man who taught them that children who are unborn have rights. You cannot abort them. Imagine a man who said that children who are in your laps have a right to be nurtured in a moral and a spiritual fashion. A man who taught them that your neighbor and 40 neighbors all have rights upon you. He taught them a person who you meet on your travel will have a right upon you. Who taught them that there is no goodness in turning your faces to Jerusalem or to Mecca. Goodness is belief in God, doing good to others, establishing that spiritual connection with God. Imagine a man who taught them that God is not in the least interested in the meat of the sacrifice that you offer. He is more so interested in the piety that springs within your souls and in your hearts. This was the Islam that he introduced. It was a ray of hope for those people. It was a source of mercy. The same Islam today has become problematic. We stated that the fundamentalists wish to revert to the law of the Quran and apply it in a literalistic fashion. We stated that is not the problem in its entirety, and that problem also needs to be addressed. The problem is in them not understanding that the fundamentals of Islam are spiritual and moral. The law system of Islam was only there to ensure a state of check and balance for the unruly amongst humanity. A noble man does not need to be threatened into being good. The fact that Islam teaches that God is omnipresent, omniscient, is sufficient for a man to be noble, to be mindful, to be in check and balance. The whole issue of a person wanting to procure the good pleasure of God in itself is sufficient to drive a person to their moral and spiritual completion. Which lover of God needs to be warned in loving God? When is Qais ever punished or threatened to be punished for not visiting his Layla? He would give his life to find his Layla. What they have forgotten is that in essence, the prophetic message was spiritual, human, and a moral message. The law system of the Quran was only there for the thugs amongst us to be in line and for these childlike people to grow gradually. Extremism, therefore, is born out of a very misconceived idea of Islam. And it's a wayward state of being. And this is something that all of us have. When we pray Salah in order to tick a box, this is the attitude that the extremists of today have. God requires a prayer of me, let me pray and discharge this duty and tick the box. It is better not to pray that prayer, after which, ticking the box, we still curse each other. After which there is no care within the soul for the well-being of the neighbor and for the other and for those in distant lands. Of what good is that prayer for God and for me? In fact, after the tick box exercise, I become conceited and arrogant that I am better than the other, for I have prayed and I have done this. Do you really feel that the story with God is like the one that we have with our employer? In order to make the employer feel good, we will tick all boxes and our hearts loathe the employer. Isn't that the case? I loathe him, but I will perform in order to get the bonus. But this God of ours is not looking at the quantity of the prayer. He doesn't even care. That's for the prayer. For him, the prayer is not in bowing and retreating. For him, the prayer is in being connected to him, in being surrendered to him. That tendency that the extremist has, and the waywardness that the extremist has in his soul, is shared by me and by you. How strange animals, confined in a cage, remain hungry for the time of the day. They pounce at their food when the cages are open, and they think that they are godly creatures. How foolish can anyone be? This is nothing but an exercise of hunger and self-deception. Fast is for the one who fasts from their arrogance, from their ego, from their greed. That is a fast of the lover of God. Do they not see the text within the Quran? وَمِنَ الْخَيْرِ فَتَحَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلًا عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. And at nights, in the depths of nights, pray the tahajjud prayer. Your Lord may elevate you to a praiseworthy rank. Does your Lord ever give you such a promise for the obligatory prayers? Why does he not? Because he knows that the obligatory prayers will be prayed by business-like minded people. The tick box exercise. But at night, only the lover will become vigilant, stay awake, and remember the beloved. The whole religion is one of love, one of substantive growth, one of quality, one of sharing, one of learning, one of breaking of arrogance and ego and extremism, and to keep extremist tendencies at bay. So the modern day extremist, in being a fundamentalist, has forgotten the essence of religion. My words will seem sharp today, let them be. Me and you have the same substance as the extremist has. So has the Christian, so has the Jew, so has the Buddhist, so has the Hindu, so has the secularist. You know why? Because we are made of the same clay and the dust that prevails among the animal kingdom. We are no more than animals. You know what we are? We are animals with intellect, whose abilities are uncontrolled. I've been explaining this over the last few days. And then what do? When this animality prevails upon us, in the robes of a saint and a pope and a mujtahid, me and you justify all this waywardness. What is extremism? It's a divine stamp that authorizes these animalistic, material, beastly, pagan-like tendencies through religion. I often say, what have we changed? The Lat and Uzza of yesterday are in the name of God and Jesus of today. You know this? Of Muhammad and Jesus and Moses. The same tendencies of old, the same paganistic tendencies are today justified in the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Isa alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's the same thing. Look at us today as we go into this final talk. Are we not insecure? Are we not frightened? Are we not distrusting? Do we not want to hoard? Do we not feel rage at our enemies? Do we not want to destroy everybody else? What has changed? The only thing that has changed is some of us have displayed this in an extreme manner and we call them extremists. And we shy away from them. But we fail to understand the same thing inside here and there. Isn't it? They justify through the literalistic understanding of the verses. We justify through our fatwas. Same thing. What we all forget is that Islam and religion is spiritual. It comes to us in order to give us substantive growth. It tells us this world is not a place of rest, it's a place of transition. The next world will receive you forever, but the next world is not a pharaonic world in which you take your riches that are other than you. You will not even be accompanied by your body. The next world is going to receive you, what is inside that body. And that is the whole purpose of life. That is the place that needs to grow. That is something that is attractive. So, extremism we define as going off moderation and using religion as a stamp of approval and doing unto others which is not seen as acceptable in front of you. On the other hand, we stated that there are many things within the Quran that are frowned upon today, but they were not frowned upon yesterday when it came. We stated that there are certain things that are relativistic. The Quran initiated the discourse of human rights, rights of women. Yes? It's a huge mistake by the Muslim minds that it concluded that discussion. No discussion on human rights or any form of rights can ever be devastated because human reality is an evolutionary reality. As we evolve, so does the discourse of human rights evolve with us. There is no finality to it. So we need to address two things here. Theologically, the problem that is created from the text, and then the attitudinal problem. That is a psychological level of addressing the situation. We stated both of these things. The first problem stems from the assumption that the revelation is eternal. The second problem stems from our human animalistic nature. Both of them need to be addressed in order to find a satisfactory resolution to this problem. The first one we stated, that we need to understand that the law, scriptural law, has always been changing and fluctuating from Ibrahim to the Prophet Muhammad. There is no permanence therein. The human society is evolving. The law has to adequately reflect the morality and spirituality in a fashion that befits the level of community. The spiritual and the moral content of the scripture is eternal. The way it has been formulated within the regulatory system of the law is going to fluctuate. Quran initiates, like the Bible, the whole trend of freeing the slave. But Quran does it in a very forceful manner. Yet it does not conclude the whole discussion by saying that slavery is not allowed. Why? Because back in the day, slavery was a norm. The Quran has to be pragmatic in the way in which it formulates and gives fashion to its moral values. It has to look at the strengths and the weaknesses of the community. I ask you, has the community not moved on since the time of the Prophet? Of course it has. Who shall ban slavery? Me and you. Our wives will ban it. Does that mean, therefore, that we are conflicting with the scriptures? No. We are, in the truest sense, bringing about the rightest scriptures through our mind, the rightest revelation, and the rightest explication of what God wants. Because we are not saying killing is allowed, moving away from God is allowed. We are not saying the spirituality has been cancelled. We are saying no, in the light of spirituality, the growth of human dignity, prestige, there can be nothing of slavery allowed in the modern world. Who will say that the rights of women have to be far more and more equal to a man than they have been in the past? Me and you will say this. Is this inconsistent with the scriptures? No. This is the truest revelation of what God wants. We explained this in the Manchester lectures, and we pointed at this here, that the divine eternal book, God says in the Quran, إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. It is the noble Quran, فِي لَوْحٍ مَحْفُوظ, in the sacred tablet, not the one that we and you have. This is a reflection of what we deserve at this level of our existence. Read Salat and come forward, please.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Torah, Injil, they all reveal the sacred book to the extent that it could reveal itself given the context in which they came. The Quran did not change the spiritual or moral message. It just changed the law system in the context in which it came. If today the revelation were to come, the spiritual and the moral content would be the same. The way in which the morality of the Quran and spirituality is fashioned would change. There would be no mention of slaves in the Quran today. Tell me something. When you read the Quran, what do you find? Do you find the story of the prophets, stories of the prophets? You will still find them. And then you find personal indications to Muhammad Rasulullah and his psychological state. You find the story of Lady Aisha going missing, don't you? You find the story of Badr. You find the story of Uhud. If the Quran was revealed today, there is no Badr, there is no Uhud. Do you think the Quran will talk about Badr and Uhud today? It needs a context to which to reveal its eternal truth. The context has changed. The same truth will be revealed in a newer context. Today we'll talk about America, Britain, Iran, Iraq, Syria. In a globalized world, it will talk about our challenges. What it did? It will talk about Ethiopia, it will talk about the famine, it will talk about the drought. It will talk about chemical warfare. It will talk about human justice and injustice. It will talk about how Brexit happens. If the Prophet was here and Brexit was happening, he would have had a thing or two to say to the revelation. Wouldn't it? It's but natural. Context is used always to give and supply those eternal truths. So the first thing is, this is the first resolution of the problem, that the theologians and the elitists must see of necessity that there is no eternity to the law of the Quran. The law of the Quran is a reflection of its social morality and its spirituality. Those are the eternal facets of the law system. In that we distinguish, and I want to make this distinction again, and I know you don't need it, and forgive me for the repetition, because people sometimes do not understand what I'm trying to say. The spiritual content, like salah, so on and so forth, keep that to one side. Everything else that is grouped under human interactions and muamalat, that will change. Because that was an existing context back in the day. Now, the other problem that we have, that we all justify every wayward ideology, is the hadith. In hadith, people smoke to death each other, they burn each other to death, they go and kill each other. This is the hadith. It's stoning to death and dropping walls and cutting heads and burning people at the stake. This is the hadith. Inshallah, I hope majority of you do go and study the Islamic fiqh, yes, and usul fiqh. What you will see is immediately you will find conflicting body of hadith. You will be hard pressed to find a single Sahih hadith. The likes of Khoi and Ansari, they all agree. We will be hard pressed to find a handful of Sahih hadith. A lot of them are hadith, known as Sahih, but they are just mu'tabar. We consider them as valid, but they're not Sahih by the strictest standards, yes? That's the first thing you get. And the other thing you will get is you will find huge conflict in the hadith. Everywhere you find conflict. And hence they have such elaborate sciences how to reconcile between these conflicts within the hadith. My own method is very, very different. I collect all of them together to find the essence of what they're trying to do. The fact that hadiths are in conflict with each other, one imam says one thing, another imam says another thing, and they're conflicting, I do not see that as conflict at all. I see them as different expressions of the same truth within different contexts. So you have 15 hadith that the sunset is when the sun sinks, end of story. When the sun sets, that's sunset, that's Maghrib for you. You have 2 or 3 hadith that says no, after some time, after the sun has set, and the brightness moves away from the top of your head or whatever, that's when it is sunset. So you'll find a conflict in there. No, that's not a conflict. It's to do with the location, where you can't ascertain that the disk of the sun has gone down. What will you do? You will have to determine through other means. You have several hadiths that say the Khoi commentator, Qummi, the late Qummi who just died, comments on, that says that alcohol and pig and all of these are not najis, prohibited to consume but not najis. And you have several that say they're all najis. I hope you don't feel that we want to show the meaning of najasa, by the way, but leave that to one side. Why do we have this conflict? And there are sahih hadith on both sides. Why? Because the imams were looking at the context and they were expressing those eternal truths within those contexts. What does that mean? What that means is all the draconian aspects of the Sharia that are today inconsistent with growing human dignity were contextual. They were nothing to do with the hard and fast, eternal want and intention of God. So when you have stoning to death, it's not in the Quran, it's in the Hadith. The Hadith is trying to bring about a balanced social order. And therefore it's going to resort to such means. But have you ever realized, go and listen to the ulama, they will always say that the Prophet never stoned anybody to death. Ali ibn Abi Talib, when people came and confessed that I am a sinner, stone me to death, he said no, and he turned them, said go away. They didn't know that. The imams were hesitant to stone people to death. Whether it be an adulterer or it be a person of gay disposition. When they came and confessed, they would say, just go away. No, we don't want to know about this. And one of the incidents in which somebody went and confessed to the Prophet actually got the person who forced him to go and confess and why did you do that? Allah would have forgiven him because between him and his God. If they committed adultery, had he concealed it, Allah would have forgiven him. Why did you have to tell him to come to confess to me? In which case his life is going to be wasted now. This is the attitude, the prophetic attitude, you see. So we have to say that the hadith, they are in conflict with the Quran when it comes to these draconian measures. They cannot be taken at face value in today's context. With the growth of human dignity. Yes, hadiths are very useful, but we'll discuss that at some other point. What about the Quran? We hinted at this in the first lecture. That if we contextualize the Quran, we will see that there is no offensive war that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has initiated. He hasn't. No prophet of God who wants to have a global religion would set a nasty precedent like that. Finally, one verse that ordains offensive warfare. You will find 2 verses that talk about warfare without a context. And the context is a broader context there because the Meccans were always ambushing the Muslim caravans. In response to that ongoing battle and war, those verses came. Wherever you find them, put them to death. that until the whole of this fitna is put to rest. Look at the Quran. Do not fight them until they fight you. When they fight you, fight them until they be ceased. And when they stop fighting, don't fight them again. Show me one verse. As far as the other verse was concerned, the enemy of God put them to death. We explained that to the context. That it was just for those people who had ambushed the Muslim caravan and who were Muslims themselves and who had cut those people up. It came for them who were Muslims themselves and cut them up as they have cut up the other people as a deterrent. When we look at this, the theological problem is resolved. What about the more pressing problem that grips the Muslim and the non-Muslim alike? The secularist is also an extremist. When Mr. Donald Trump says, I'm going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it, it's rather extreme, isn't it? No Muslim should be allowed into America. These are extreme statements. Imagine how far these statements can go. Hatred of the Muslim, isn't this extreme? Promoted by the president of the most powerful nation on the face of this earth. Can there be a bigger extremist than what he potentially can be? Tell me. At the Apex meeting, present a balanced opinion. Don't just go and give yourself to the Israelites against to the Israelis against the Palestinians. I admit the Palestinians might be wrong and the Israelis might be wrong. But you can't go and sell your soul to one party as opposed to the other one. Have you heard his speech? Isn't this extreme? Mr. Cameron selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, who are then using them on the Yemenis. Isn't this an extreme ideology that's driving Mr. Cameron? And then to promote Saudi Arabia to the Council of Human Rights, and then to make them the head of the Human Rights Council? Isn't this an extreme act? Isn't this promoted by an ideology, a wayward secularist ideology, that they are our friends in the region? If we support our friends in the region, then our enemies won't be able to get to us. Isn't this extremism in its core sense? Tell me, may God wipe clean the ISIS on the face of this earth. But how many people have Saudis killed in Yemen? Tell me, how much devastation has been unleashed in Syria? But God is still there. I say he's a tyrant, I don't like him. But where are the friendly rebels that you supported? What have they done? Wouldn't that tyrant have been better as opposed to these friendly rebels that you supported today? I would much rather see that tyrant pay for what he has done and account. But the destruction of the whole of Syria, isn't this extreme? Isn't Brexit extreme? For those people who voted for Brexit in order to not allow Europeans to come in and get our jobs? Where has morality gone? Where has spirituality gone in Britain? It's my country. But my people have no trust in God or humanity. You know something? The Eskimos would practice female infanticide. Do you know why? Because the conditions were harsh. I explained this a few days ago. There were only male hunters. And if there were more females, then they would not be able to provide everybody food. So in order to ensure the life of the community, they strangled their baby daughters. It's not because they didn't value life, it's because they miscalculated things. The Meccans used to do the same thing. God intervened and he says, do not kill your children through fear of starvation. I will sustain them as I'm sustaining you. Have we lost all trust in our Mother Earth, in humanity, in God? Then I say that my starving neighbor cannot come and eat here. We could have had so many other motives for Brexit, but having this as a motive shows how humanity has declined and how extreme we have become in that insecurity of ours. So Islamic extremism on one hand, when the theologians have to do their work and the religious have to do their work, and the Hindu theologians and the Christian theologians and the Jewish theologians have to do their work, so there's no full-scale massacre of the Palestinians, and the Palestinian theologians have to do their work so that they don't go and blow themselves in the face of the Jewish people. All of these are extreme acts that all the religions must address. But on the other hand, there's a problem at the core of humanity. There's a problem at the core of humanity. Show me one era in the history of mankind where we have not seen devastation being unleashed upon humans by humans. Show me. The First World War, the Second World War. When? Tell me. Have you found one era in human history in which heads have not rolled with justification from religion or any type of wayward ideology? They said religion causes devastation outside the secularist world. What do you see? Do you not see this? It's a human story. We have to learn that the time has come where humanity has to prevail. It's not the problem of the Muslim, it's the problem of human beings. We are extreme. There is this tendency within us, due to which the angel said, he will kill and spread corruption, this Adam that you're creating. It is because they saw me and you in our nature. Imagine a child with a gun who doesn't know the consequence of what they're doing, or bear responsibility. That's what me and you are. But the time is here for us not to grow. Now, how do we address that? The spiritual religious community needs to share with the non-religious community. They need to tell that humanity is humanity. It's all nice talk, but it's not getting us anywhere. We talk about inalienable human rights, but still sell weapons to Saudi Arabia because we get billions of pounds to go and kill people who are already dead. Imagine. Imagine. Humanity, where is it gone? Where is the discussion of Yemen within the United Nations in a forceful way? Where? The religious community needs to arrive to their senses, to say this and these acts are ungodly. There has to be God centricity. That was the message of every religion. That's the most befitting eschatology. We need to introduce God in human life in a very meaningful way. God is a source of life, goodness, forgiveness, charity, security. We need to share with human beings, not only at the intellectual level. This is why the rest of the world runs away from us when we talk of God. God has become unfashionable. Because in the name of God, the religious community has caused so much devastation that it's tarnished the name of God altogether. Now the religious community needs to show God in its actions. It needs to display godliness so that people understand that no, God is the only one who can bring about goodness within the human community. That I have a moral compass, not for the sake of humanity, but for the sake of one who is intimately connected to me. He not only watches me, but I yearn him, I love him, and I want to become like him. The only way we will contain our extremist tendencies is with the introduction of God at the core level of humanity. When we begin to lead purposeful and substantive lives, where our lives become meaningful. I always say a good humanitarian is a good person. But to be a complete and a godly person, you need more than just being a humanitarian. You can have social morals, but that doesn't mean that you become a person who is beneficial for the society in a meaningful way. I can be very charitable, but I may not speak against the deaths of innocent people. I may not be confident in myself. I may not be truthful, yet I'm charitable. But a person who's God-centric, these are the people who transcend every human limitation. Imagine, if me and you are introduced to a God who is colorless, we will not discern on the basis of color. If we are introduced to a God who is genderless, we will not discern on the basis of gender. If we were introduced to a God who is religionless, we would not have biases born through religious preferences. A secularist, an atheist, a theist are my family. If we could understand the communication of God that you are one family, then caring for that person who is in a distant land is me caring for my own well-being. I do not see the salvation of this world by just the theologians and the legalists addressing the problem of extreme texts within the scriptures, and all of them are guilty of this, for this laziness and not doing this work. The scriptures and the texts that are inconsistent with human dignity and human prestige. I do not see that as the only solution. I see the awakening and introduction of God in a very, very meaningful fashion within human life. And that doesn't have to be in the mosque or the church, the synagogue, the temple, whatever. It has to be at the level of the human individual. So there we will end. It is only due to the non-existence of God that we find ourselves in the crisis that we find ourselves. I'm not talking about God as Allah or Jehovah or the name God. I'm not talking about the mosque or the church or the synagogue. They don't concern me at all. I'm talking about the real, true God. The one that belongs to me, the one that I live with, the one that is the agency of the growth of goodness and godliness within me, the one to whom not only can I forgive my adversary, but lovingly care for them as I care for my own child. And then on top of that, thank Allah and asking forgiveness for my own self and for that person. That God. I'm not talking about the God of the book and the scriptures, I'm talking about the God that lives with us, which fills my soul with such confidence that I can give away what He has given to me, not thinking that I'm doing a favor, but thinking that I'm giving away something that was given to me in trust. And relying on God to say that since you take, and as you take care of the whole cosmos and the universe, Allahu Akbar, and as you take care of the crawling creatures upon the earth, shall you not take care of me if you keep me alive for the next breath? I'm talking about that God. I'm talking about the God that tells me this is wrong that you have done. When I humble myself and say this is the wrong that I have done. Forgive me. That makes it easy for me to forgive and to seek forgiveness. A God that takes away insecurity from me, especially the insecurity that religion has imposed on my head. A God that allows me to challenge whatever is out there that seems to be so ungodly, so inhumane in the name of religion, without a shred of fear, because I am God and with you. You will guide me. If I'm wrong, then forgive me. And if I'm to be punished, then allow me to be a man and take this punishment. A God that fills my soul with love, with goodness. In the final analysis, after all intellectual debates, in essence, it is the lack of God that has driven this wonderful humanity to the brink of its destruction. And that's about it. And how wonderful are the example of the godly souls. How beautiful these people are. Hussein has fallen from his steed. They surround him. May your mothers weep upon you, Shimmer cries. Why do you not slaughter him? They hesitated. They were afraid. When taunted by Shimmer, they advanced near him. That by God, we have not seen a person so traumatized, so tortured, so oppressed, so brutally dealt with, whose brothers have been killed, whose sons have been torn into pieces, who is hungry and thirsty, whose body bears uncountable wounds, whose blood has oozed from his veins. We have not seen one like him, who burns with a thirst, and yet his face glows radiantly. Serenity surrounds his beauty. His lips move in the praise of Allah. Ya Qareebun, Ya Mujib, he calls out. Oh Lord, indeed you are very near. Oh, you who hear every plea. Oh, you who responds at every point. By Allah, seeing his state deters us from advancing towards him. A man goes to him. I feel you are a saint that was promised to us. Do you have it in your heart to forgive me at this point? Hussein looks at him. I have forgiven you for the sake of Allah. This is Hussein. Imagine the impact this Hussein has on those closest to him and those who love him. A stick is being poked at his face. You had a good set of teeth, O Hussein, says Abdulhussain. He looks at Zainab. How did you find the decree of your God, Zainab? He killed your brother. Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I have not seen anything but beauty of God prevail, O Abdulhussain. We find another scene, but in this one, the sister's soul is not as composed. The head of Hussein is in a plate, placed at the feet of Yazid. As he slams his goblet, the wine pours into the plate. And he looks at the face of Hussein, takes his stick and hits it. Indeed, today, my forefathers would come rushing to me and say, "Oh, Yazid, well done." Sakina looks at Zainul Abidin. He is unable to raise his head. She leaps and embraces her aunt. Do you not see what he does to the head of my father? She stands and she says, "Oh son, oh freed slave, it is befitting for a like of you to behead the friend of God, to chew upon his liver, to be made from the blood of women who have been the friends of God, and then to poke at the teeth of Abba Abdullah, seeing no sin therein, and to say, if only my forefathers were here, they would come running to me and laud me and praise me for what I have done."
Towards you.
Peace be upon you, O Prophet of Allah. Peace be upon you, O Messenger of Allah. Peace be upon you, O Commander of the Faithful. Peace be upon you, O the Truthful, the Pure Fatima Zahra. Peace be upon you, O the Mother of the Faithful, Khadija al-Kubra. Peace be upon you, the Chosen, Imam Hassan, Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba. Peace be upon you, the martyr of Karbala, Imam Hussein al-Shaheed. Peace be upon you, the 9 descendants of Imam Hussein, the pride of the worshippers, Imam Zain al-Abidin, the splitter of knowledge, Imam al-Baqir, the truthful, Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, the forbearing, Imam Musa al-Qadir, the pleased, Imam Ali al-Rida, the generous, Imam Muhammad al-Jawad, the guide, Imam Ali al-Hadi, the incarcerated, Imam al-Hassan al-Askari. Our salams to you, O the proof of Allah on his earth, Imam al-Mahdi. Our salams to you, O the ultimate link of Allah with creation. May peace and blessings be of Allah be upon you all.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Tonight's majlis was sponsored for the benefit of the following departed souls. Marhuma Fatma Bai Ghulam Ali Kanani, marhumeens of the Marhum Pir Bai Walji Kanani family, Marhumeens of Marhum Amarsi Sundarji Malji family, Marhumeens of Marhum Habib Jagani family, Marhum Tawabali Muhammad Jafar Hassani Megji, Marhumeens of Marhum Muhammad Jafar Hassani Megji family, Marhum Hussain Ali Binji, Marhum Hassan Ali Hassam, Marhuma Shirin Bai Hussain Ali Binji, Marhuma Fatima Bai Hassan Ali Hassam, Marhuma Ruqayya Qasim Ali Daya Hirji, Marhum Nur Muhammad Hirji, Marhum Hussain Bimani, Marhuma Ashraf Bimani, Marhuma Masuma Bai Akbar Damji, Marhuma Hussain Sukaina Bai Manakia. Please can we recite the Fatiha for these marhums as well as all the marhums of those present today. Al-Fatiha.
Fatiha.
The Book Cave Children's Islamic Library are creating a community canvas and would love for you all to be part of it. The artwork brings to life the ethos of the library and its hopes for community cohesion and diversity. Please stop by the stall outside the hall and see the beautiful artwork and make your mark. The Al-Mahdi Institute is a charitable, educational and research establishment committing to serving grassroots communities through training future scholars of religion, engaging in cutting-edge research and translations, as well as a wide range of outreach activities, all as a means to share the human face of Islam and the message of Ahlul Bayt. As a grassroots funded organization, you are all kindly requested to donate to the Institute in whatever capacity you can, and this will allow the Institute to continue its activities. There is a donation box at the back, or alternatively you can give a donation to one of the volunteers who can organize the receipt for you. We will now start the question and answer. After the question and answer, there will be full niyaz upstairs in the usual place. Please can we start the question and answer? We'll limit it to approximately 20 minutes. If there's more questions, we can be flexible. We'll start with a question that was asked 2 or 3 days ago in respect to the verse relating to cutting off the hands. The question was, is there scope in the Quran, i.e. are there any verses in the Quran that allow us to reinterpret these verses for today's context, i.e. from the Quran?
Absolutely. The whole issue of abrogation within the Quran. I ask you a question. The Quran is eternal by assumption, yes? So the eternal verse is cancelled. How does that make any sense? By another eternal verse. So it's cancelled in its eternity. What does that mean? It means that the verse that was conveying the first regulation was replaced by a verse containing the second regulation, and the first regulation was abrogated altogether. So those are the Quranic basis for the interpretation of the law of the Quran. The very fact that abrogation can occur, that the Quran can nullify its own law, and that verse is still inside the Quran, we are reading it, and yet at the level of law doesn't mean anything. Yes? And even the most conservative ulama will agree to at least one or two verses being abrogated. My own theory on abrogation is very different. It's existential and psychic.
We'll just pause for 2 or 3 minutes. Shaykh needs to go outside just very quickly.
Conclude this session. My sister is not well. Just pray for her and then she'll